to see that. All right, so Mike, I'm gonna let you go ahead and set this up, man, because you was the one who kind of made me aware of the report from Mary Kay Cabot. We got the actual quote from Mary Kay in her article. Go ahead and cook.
Yeah, I just think for this conversation about Nick Chubb, it is important to give you exactly what Mary Kay said in her article yesterday. So we're all coming from this from the exact same standpoint. No one could misconstrue or misinterpret where we are getting our information from and what we're kind of reacting to, because Mary Kay wrote a piece yesterday on the Browns' 4 biggest free agents, and this is what she had to say about Nick Chubb, which led to some people getting very upset. From Mary Kay's article yesterday, quote, "It's the end of the Nick Chubb era in Cleveland, and it's a sad day it has to end this way. The face of the franchise since he rumbled through the doors in 2018, Chubb should have finished his career with the team that drafted and developed him, but the crushing knee injury thwarted those plans, like Joe Thomas before him. Chubb truly meant it when he said he wanted to finish his career in Cleveland. He's orange and brown through and through and would have never considered asking to be traded." That continues. Chubb has stated unequivocally since late in the season that he wanted to come back, but it's probably not going to happen. The Browns gave him last season to return from the injury, make more than $2 million, and walk away with some grace and dignity despite being a shadow of his former bruising self. But Chubb, a freak of nature with superhuman traits, has vowed he'll be better in his second season from the 2 surgeries, and some teams are likely willing to give him a chance. Here's hoping Chubb, who embodied everything good about the Browns, finds a great new home and finishes his career on a strong note. End quote from Mary Kay Cabot.
Let me tell you guys, I went completely bananas on my podcast about this yesterday.
Rightfully so.
I mean, this morning, and it'll be out later today. And on my podcast, I was dropping F-bombs, so you're going to want to watch that later in the day. You already know, and I'm sorry to tell you this, and I know there's a small percentage of the fan base that thinks I root against the Browns, and that's okay. You have to believe what you want to believe. Let me say this. The Browns have once again solidified that they are the worst organization in professional sports. If you make a win-loss column, you know how sometimes when you're deciding about a new job, right? You're deciding about buying a house. You're deciding about buying a car. Director Steve just got a new car, right? Sometimes when you're making these decisions, you may sit at home and you may make a positives and negatives checklist. Should I move to this town? Here's the positives of this job. Here's the negatives of this job. Well, if I make a positive and negative checklist about the Cleveland Browns, I got 1,000 things in the negative list. I've got one thing in the positive list, and that's that the owner's willing to spend money. That's it. The only thing I got in the positive column about the Browns is that they're willing to spend money. Now let's take a look at Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb, I've only got things in the positive list. Nick Chubb is the player that every fan wants 53 Nick Chubbs. I don't know how many times I've asked the question to a media member. I don't know how many times I've asked the question to former players and current players over my years covering the Browns here in this city. If you had 53 Nick Chubbs, how good would your team be? He does everything the right way. Everything. There are literally no exceptions. There's literally nothing I can say bad about Nick Chubb. The man eats, sleeps, breathes football. When he's not playing football, he's thinking about football, or he's doing something positive in the community. He's never out. He's never in trouble. He never showboats on the field. He never does anything wrong. He is the epitome of what every fan wants as a football player. Now, last year, he wasn't very good on the field. We all understand that. And there's a chance, might be a better than 50% chance, might be an 80% chance, that Nick Chubb is never going to be a great player again. I hope that that's not the case, but there's a chance that's going to be. But the Cleveland Browns, a team that spends money like it's going out of style, the Cleveland Browns, a team that has wasted more cash than any team in the history of professional sports. You are telling me that they can't afford to pay a few $1 million to keep a guy who should be Myles Garrett. And listen, I'm not killing Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is humiliating the Cleveland Browns across the country, going on every friggin' radio and TV show he can to humiliate Jimmy Haslam, Andrew Berry, and Kevin Stefanski, talk about how useless the organization is. He is crushing them, and they won't trade him. I understand they're not equivalent in terms of players right now. I get it. The Browns don't care about character. They bring in one bad guy after the next. They don't factor that in at all. You know, Theo Epstein, the great GM of the Boston Red Sox and the Cubs, said, I was a big nerd and I believe in analytics. And so do I. Everybody that's watched this show, you've listened to me on the radio, you know I love analytics. I get it that football is a business. But you know what? Theo Epstein said, I didn't become a great GM until I realized you can't just be about analytics. It's got to be about heart and the person too. The great GMs have the mix of the numbers and the players. Nick Chubb is a unique individual. I understand there's some players that need to be cut for business reasons. I understand there's some players that you got to move on from for business reasons. This franchise and Jimmy Haslam, you have crapped all over this fan base. You've raised ticket prices. You've produced one playoff victory in over a decade. This is one of the best players in the modern franchise history. As I said, he does everything right. Guys get in his face. Guys dirty tackle him. He does nothing. He drops the ball. He gets back in the huddle. He is a winner stuck with a bunch of freaking losers on this team. And if I were Nick Chubb, and I'm not the man that Nick Chubb is, he's better than me. If I were Nick Chubb, I'd want to get the hell out of here. But lo and behold, this guy, this beautiful guy, wants to be a Cleveland Brown for life. But no, we piss away all this money on one scab after the next, but you can't pay $5 million for the best modern running back in the history of the franchise, a guy who's only not going to get in the Hall of Fame probably because of this injury, a great player who, when healthy, played at a Hall of Fame level behind terrible teams with no quarterback and no help, and at times looked like the greatest running back in the history of the sport. And now you're going to let him go put on another uniform? That's an absolute disgrace, and everybody on the Browns should be 100% embarrassed that they've allowed this to happen. I don't care about business. What cap? The Browns are going to stink next year anyway. Who cares what the cap situation is? Is Nick Chubb going to be the difference? Is spending $5 million on Nick Chubb, and I don't even know it would take that much, going to be the difference between the Browns being able to put together a good team or not? Or they can't sign another stupid over-the-hill defensive lineman? You are disgraceful. You suck Jimmy Haslam, you suck Andrew Berry, and you suck Kevin Stefanski. This is a disgrace. It's a disgrace to the fans, and it's going to be even worse if Nick Chubb signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Disgusting. I'm fed up with this friggin' team. It's awful. No excuse for this.
Well said.
Well said.
Well said.
Except the Jimmy Haslam part. You do a great job with me. Outside of that, well said.
So Bull covered a lot of it in a 6-minute rant, and now that we have Plus on Twitter, Bull, we can put that whole rant together. So Ant, make sure we cut that whole rant.
Well,
first time we can use the whole thing. But my point going into this was, other than I agree with almost everything you said, I actually don't have anything I disagree with.
No.
If you took the name off the jersey,
Yeah.
and you look at it from just the standpoint of you have a 29-year-old running back who's about to turn 30,
Of course.
coming off a second serious knee injury who wasn't good last season, and said, we're going to let him walk, no one would have an issue with it.
That's right.
No one would have an issue with it.
Yeah.
But Nick Chubb is not a nameless football player.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb means something to this city. I'm not from Cleveland. You guys know that.
Yeah.
When I got here, the first person that everyone I talked to said, who's your favorite Cleveland athlete? The answer was Nick Chubb.
That's right.
And the second answer was Nick Chubb. And then the third answer was Nick Chubb. And then you sprinkle in a Jose. Donovan hadn't gotten there yet, so he wasn't there. There were some miles. But this is a team and an organization that could use any ounce, and I mean any ounce of good PR right now. Tyvis, you can exclude yourself from this conversation as a paid member of the Cleveland Browns organization. But between the Deshaun Watson trade, between the disastrous 3-14 season, between the constant back and forth in the fan base between Baker Mayfield and Joe Flacco, we can't get anything on the same page together. They could use any semblance of good karma and good PR. And for Mary Kay to come out there, and I respect Mary Kay, if she writes what she wrote yesterday, I don't think she's just making that up.
No.
To start the column with, it's the end of the Nick Chubb era in Cleveland, it makes no sense to me. And there is a chance, I do want to say, there's a chance that the Browns are letting Nick Chubb go test the market, set your price, and we'll come back and match it. There's a chance it could happen. That's not what I got from reading how Mary Kay wrote the article yesterday. And if they're not willing to your point, spend 2-3 million. It's not like Nick Chubb's going to get 15 million on the open market.
Of course not.
If they're not willing to spend the minute, it could be close to a veteran minimum contract. Hell, they should be overpaying to keep Nick Chubb here because he means something to this franchise. And when they come onto the field next season with a brand new quarterback, with a brand new running back room now, and Deshaun Watson still on the roster, and the potential of Chubb, Bitonio, and Myles Garrett not, it's just going to be as bad of optics as you could possibly imagine. It's a disgrace and just a decision I don't understand from the Browns' standpoint.
Well, I agree with a lot of stuff that both of you guys said, but the difference is you guys are putting your personal feelings in it. As of lately, I've been in a business mindset, as you guys know. I've been in a very business mindset, and I just look at it as business, One, I look at it from a personal standpoint. I'm with you guys. It's nothing you would want Nick Chubb to be in there, even if you drafted a running back in the second or third round. Like, you still want them to be around Nick Chubb because I think he's a great teammate.
Of course.
Think that the way he carried himself and how he was on the field and the hard work and dedication, you want your younger guys to see that. They want to learn from a guy who was considered the best running back in the NFL at once upon a time, and he can share those things. So you would be grooming the next guy. However, the production just isn't going to be there. And I think that they're looking at it like he's coming off the knee injury. He broke the foot. And it's like it seems to be now.
But it's so little money.
I understand that, but I'm saying to them, they're probably thinking to themselves at this point, maybe they look at him as damaged goods. Like, okay, so it was the knee last year. Now it's the foot this year. What is it? The hamstring the next year? Like it could be. They thinking his body is.
But if you look at the culmination of the running back room, you got Jerome Ford, who's a 5th-round rookie, making nothing. You're probably going to draft a rookie making nothing, and you sign Nick Chubb for. You could be spending $5 million on the entire running back room next year.
Again, like I said,
I get what you're saying.
From a personal standpoint,
I
understand that.
Not everything. Okay, then if everything's about business,
it is.
Then let me talk to you.
This is just the cold nature of the NFL.
Browns
fans.
It's
cutthroat. You can't. Yes, he's beloved. You know what? Last year it was a perfect example because they could have cutthroat the whole thing and said, "Listen, we only giving you $1 million."
Really?
They could have.
Fine.
They could have
done. He could have said, "Take a pay cut." As good as I've been, no, I'm going to go somewhere else.
And then we would be sitting in the same position that we are right now.
So that was a slap in the face to ask him to take a pay cut. A player of his stature.
They could, like I said, they were generous with the.
They were not generous.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, he was generous.
Because it could have got really bad.
Let me tell you something. Every Browns fan, and I know you're not going to listen to me, but you should. You should treat the Browns as a business. You pay to go to Browns games, right?
Yep.
You pay. You're supposed to be entertained. The Browns don't entertain you. More often than not, they let you down. They suck. They're terrible. They've won one playoff game in the Jimmy Haslam era. One. They haven't gone to the playoffs in consecutive seasons since some of you were born. So why spend any money? If it's all about business, the Browns are cutting Nick Chubb for business, then fans need to treat the Browns as a business.
And I also think
and take your emotions out of it and don't buy season tickets.
But if
anybody that's buying season tickets, the Browns are ripping you off. You are being ripped off. Your money's being stolen by the Cleveland Browns to supplement Jimmy and his rich cronies. Don't give him any money.
To counter Ty's point, though, entering last season, the Browns were coming off a playoff appearance and thought they had a chance to compete. Right? They genuinely thought they had a chance to compete last year.
The world did.
We all did. I know you didn't pick them to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And you were right.
Except Bull. Everybody else was. Except
you
Bull.
thought they could be at least competitive, and we all thought they'd be another playoff team.
I didn't think they'd be this bad, of course.
The cap dollars that they saved and or would have saved if they not re-signed Chubb could have gone to a player they thought could help us put us in a better position to compete for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I know Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are on the hot seat, and they have to be looking at this season as we need to win or we're getting fired. But I can't imagine that whatever money that Nick Chubb is going to get in the open market compared to who they could use that money to help sign, especially in a position like running back where they currently have no depth whatsoever, is the difference in a team now that has no expectations of competing next year.
First of all,
it's just different scenarios.
Wait a minute. First of all, what made Nick Chubb is the ability to make the first guy miss. Our offensive line, we talk about how great this offensive line was a couple of years ago. No, they weren't. Nick Chubb was still getting contacted in the backfield. They were better,
but you're
for sure. But Nick Chubb was getting tackled. He was making people miss in the back.
He's one of the greatest
To me, right now, the way they look at it is last year he didn't have that ability to make that person miss.
We all understand that.
Okay.
Nobody's arguing
so
with you
what
there.
I'm saying is they still, even if they brought Nick Chubb back, that offensive line still ain't fixed.
We're not saying sign Nick Chubb to win. We're saying sign Nick Chubb because he's one of the very few players, and certainly one of the only good player the Browns have had since Joe Thomas that actually wants to be here.
Have you heard the phrase that nice guys finish last?
Tyrese, I think it's more about morale, though. Because
you got a situation. It's a pathetic state of affairs in our country.
I understand the morale and all that. Listen, I love Nick Chubb, too. I'm mad that he leaving, too, because I want him to stay, too. But from a business standpoint, I 100% get why they're moving on.
A couple things.
I 100% get that.
Like, it's not a done deal, but based on how this article looked, it looks more likely than not that Nick Chubb won't be back. But to everybody's point, I think it's more about morale, right? The Browns are now in no position to be a competitive football team that's going to go out here and contend for anything. And I think that writing is on the wall. But you also have a culture problem. And when you make the decision that you're not going to invest in Cleveland's favorite son, it does nothing to help the culture. Now, granted, he has the injuries and he's 29 and the business side of things says one thing, but for certain people, I believe certain exceptions have to be made.
That's
and
right.
in the Cleveland Browns situation, when you have a bad team and a bad culture, you need to do something to stabilize one or the other. And Nick Chubb stabilizes the culture.
Earl, let me ask you this. We all think the Browns are going to draft a quarterback at number 2. Who would be a perfect guy to have in the locker room for a young rookie quarterback to see? You want to get beloved in this city? Obviously, winning will do that for you, but you want to see how to act and become this city's second son, third son? Who's a great person to look at and follow in that motto?
That's right.
Is Nick Chubb not the perfect guy for that role?
And what? There's no chance Nick Chubb can't bounce back from an injury? It's not like he's 35. I mean, Derrick Henry was still great at 31. It's a lot of guys, it takes an extra year to come back. You're telling me at the very least he couldn't be a good blocker? Or couldn't be a good short yardage back?
A good mentor to the rookie running back they draft?
And yes, and as you said, protection and someone to lean on for the quarterback. Nick Chubb, again, I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. I mean, think about this. You have the 3 guys that have been here the longest on this team. Myles Garrett wants out in the worst way, and the Browns are saying, we're not going to let you go. So he's going to be in the locker room, if he's here, pissed off, setting a terrible tone. Joel Bitonio.
That's not necessarily true.
You don't think so? You don't think he's going to be pissed off?
I don't think Miles has a problem with the players.
Well, no, I'm not saying he's a problem.
So that, like,
but he's going to be pissed off.
From that. But when you're around the players, I'm not going to be like. But the players, he's still my guy.
The players know he spent the whole offseason embarrassing the team.
Yeah, but like I said, at the end of the day, like, yeah.
But don't you think that's bad for the culture?
You think they're not hanging out with Miles?
I think you guys are both right.
You saying I'm saying you think Cleveland Browns players is like, hey Miles, we ain't kicking it no more.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like
I'm just saying if your best player doesn't want to be there, doesn't that do something to the other players? Like, well,
I mean, you'd be like,
the question is he really.
Well, the thing is, everybody probably understands why he's saying what he's saying. But, like, if they're not going to trade him and he's going to be here, it's like, all right, well, we might as well.
I got a question for you all.
Go ahead and rock.
2 more questions on this before we get to our guests. The next question on this topic is everybody's here football fans and they pay attention to other teams. In your opinion, if Nick Chubb moves on from Cleveland, which team is the best fit for Nick Chubb and why?
I mean,
I gave this way too much thought, by the way.
I mean, in this division, there's 2 great fits: the Bengals and the Steelers.
Neither's the right answer. You're right that they're good fits. They're on my list. They're not the right
Who's
answer.
the best fit?
I think Minnesota.
Yeah, but they have Aaron Jones.
Nope, free agent. He signed a 1-year deal last year.
Yeah, but who's there?
He's
not.
old.
Nick Chubb's not a running back 1 anymore.
I know you signed him and someone else. He's got the familiarity with the GM there.
Yeah.
I pronounce his name wrong every time. They got
He doesn't care about
J.J.
that.
McCarthy.
Well, why does that make that a perfect fit?
Well, I'm just saying he's familiar. They got J.J. McCarthy in the Kevin O'Connell system, which is a wide zone running system, which is what he thrived in with Kevin Stefanski.
You're going to hate the team that I say.
Who?
But he should 100% do it.
You say Pittsburgh.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Nah, they got good backs.
No,
they like their backs.
Bucky Irving.
They out on Rashad White. But Bucky Irvin and
Yeah,
him?
I could replace. I don't know.
You back with Bake?
Would you want him in Cincinnati?
That would be nice.
I would love him as a Bengals fan to be there, but as someone who covers and roots for the Browns, I hate the idea of it. But selfishly as a Bengals fan, he'd be a perfect fit to be the second back to Chase Brown, and he'd be a good fit with Jaylen Warren in Pittsburgh because Brown and Jaylen Warren are smaller backs, and he'd be a great goal line, fourth down guy, third down guy, short yardage guy.
I think New England would be a decent fit.
But he
too,
doesn't want to go to a bad team, does he?
If they're the ones
going to
leave,
leave,
yeah.
If he's going to leave, I don't think Nick Chubb is going to the team that offers him the most money. He's shown you that time and time.
I'm just naming
Nick Chubb
places
has
Chubb
cost
better go.
himself money because he wanted to stay with the Browns, and that's what's a disgrace. He signed extensions that were not
market value
good enough because he wanted to stay with the Browns, and now the Browns should do right by him, and they're handling this poorly. It's terrible. And Nick Chubb I doubt will make a decision based on money. I think if he's going to leave the Browns, which he has no choice, he's going to go to a team that gives him the best chance to win, I would think.
If I was him,
Yeah, he's not going to New England.
I'd go to the Buccaneers or I'd go to the Falcons because he's.
Why? But the Bengals are a better team than both of those teams.
Tampa Bay, they made the playoffs.
Tampa Bay plays. You think the Buccaneers are better than the Bengals?
I mean, they made the playoffs.
That's
Well, it's two different conferences.
Just saying, they made the playoffs.
That doesn't make them better.
Wait, what money is they gonna have left over? Because they still got to pay.
The
a
Bengals
bunch
have
of guys.
over $100 million in cap space. What are you talking about?
Okay, and they still got 3 players to pay.
Yeah.
So pay them. If they got all it, pay them.
That's a big difference in paying Nick Chubb $5 million or $3 million.
You never know because they demanded. Them 3 players is demanding all $100 million.
As they should. He could go to the Chiefs, replace Kareem Hunt.
I thought of that too.
I thought of that too.
Still think Minnesota's a good
That'd
fit.
be great.
I don't know. You want to go with a rookie
But
quarterback?
I feel like they don't run a lot there, right? Do the Chiefs run the ball that much?
They did last
They
year.
ran it the year before with Pacheco too, when he was healthy.
I
got
forgot about him.
last year.
He was banged up last year.
Listen. There's any place that doesn't have 2 backs.
He'd be a great fit. Yeah.
I'd go someplace that's in a dome or warm. That's usually what people do when they get older. As you get towards the end, you start going.
I mean, he is from Georgia, so
that's why I said the Falcons and Tampa Bay's in Florida.
But they got a great back who plays almost every play.
Bijan?
Yeah.
And then they got Tyler Algier too, right?
Yeah, he's a decent.
And he's on a
second.
rookie contract still.
Yeah.
They get a third.
So I don't know. I don't think he's going there, but
It would kill me to see him in Pittsburgh or Cincinnati. I was just trying to picture when you mentioned as someone who covers
that'd
the
be the
Browns,
popular. That's the popular thing nowadays. You go somewhere in that division.
But could you imagine? I've seen a AI photo of him in a Steelers jersey. It just doesn't look right.
If I'm the Steelers, I'm trying to sign him.
It doesn't look right.
If I was the Steelers, I'd definitely sign him.
If I were him, I wouldn't want to go to the Steelers because I don't think the Steelers can win. But I'd want to win if I were him.
What about the Cowboys?
I wouldn't go there. They don't really have a lead back. They need a lead back.
What's wrong with
I
that?
think he's a free agent.
Really?
I believe so.
I thought he was young.
I have seen them getting mocked a bunch of running backs. So
I've double checked that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think Dowdle's a free agent. I think Najee Harris and Dowdle are the 2 best. Not that I don't think there's much in the free agent running back market.
Is Rico?
We get too caught up in free agent. Most of the top free agents when they sign end up being busts.
Yeah, the
Most
49ers just cut Hargrave.
He was a big deal when they signed him 2 years ago. Everybody made a whole big thing. Then they cut him 2 years later. That happens all the time. We get all excited about
my
free
boy Draymond. Speaking of, put the camera on me, Steve.
He is a free agent, by the way.
Put the camera on me. I need to say this. So we talk about people that the Browns need to get people that want to be here. Well, my boy Draymond Jones wanted to be here when he signed with the Seahawks. What was that? A couple years ago, he wanted to be here, but he allegedly the money just wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? Now he's a free agent. He's from the city. You need some defensive tackles. Hey, I mean, listen, you can have 2 Buckeyes in the middle right there.
That's true.
I'm all for it. You know what I'm saying?
winning.
So I give my boy Draymond a call and see what's going on there.
How old is he?
Draymond probably 27, 28.
Oh, okay. He's younger than I
like
thought.
that.
I don't know why I thought he was
Hold
older.
on, let me look.
All right, Earl. So the last part of this conversation is what now the Browns will do at running back. Even if they had brought back Nick Chubb, or even if they did bring back Nick Chubb,
28.
they still got to address the position. Dressing the position in running back is not starting running back is not an option in free agency, in my opinion.
We all agree, by the way, with our answer. Different people, but
Right.
Rookie is the way to go.
I don't know who the rookie is. I don't know enough about the rookie running backs. But the Browns need to address the position at running back. Let's face it, the Browns need to hit a home run in the draft.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Berry so far has been a bad drafter.
What I say, they got 4 picks in the top 102, right?
I think it's 5 in the 102.
Yeah, they better make sure all 5 of them is
I believe.
No, they can't. They don't have. That would mean they'd have
They got what, first,
They have
a
one
second,
first.
2 thirds,
And the early fourth.
an early fourth.
an early fourth.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. They need to get a running back. I mean, but they need everything, including a running back.
They got 5 picks out of
Unfortunately,
the
they
top
have
102
hit on so
athletes.
few of their draft picks that it's hard to have confidence. But if Andrew Berry, this is the time to turn it around and start drafting well. Now, it's the first time he's had a full complement of picks in 4 years.
Ty, who would your rookie running
do you
back
like?
choice be? For the Browns?
Well, you know, there is these 2 guys that's in Columbus that did really well. You know, you could take
All right,
either
is this
one.
Ohio State bias?
No, they're really good. They're really good running backs.
Okay.
Both of them. If you
Yeah.
want the home run hitter, a guy that's gonna break away and you ain't catching him, that's Travion. You know, both of them really improved over their courses of this season. You know, Travion coming into the season, the one thing about Travion is he was never healthy. You know, he was always this explosive running back, but he never could get through a full season. It would be a foot injury or a hamstring or something like that. And then he got with Quinshawn this year, they was able to finish the entire season, and you've seen the numbers. I mean, you throw him a screen pass, boom, he taking 75 yards. These is the same things that he was doing from game 1 as a freshman till his last year. So for me, it's just durability with him. Can he handle the course of a full NFL season?
That's a big concern.
That's a big concern.
Yeah.
But if he's out there, he is a game changer because of his speed. He's really improved as a pass pro, as a pass blocker, and he catches the ball out the backfield. I mean, he does literally everything. With Quinshawn is more of a physical back. You watched him in the championship game, and you watched him over the course of this season. When you had to have it, when you needed to seal the deal, you know how you get to the fourth quarter and you trying to get to 2 minutes, you got to get that first down? Quinshawn was the guy that would run people over, and they just couldn't bring this guy down. And then he goes out to the combine, he drops a 4.48. Now, I will say, he dropped the 4.48, but I watched this man get walked down in the national championship game. He should have broke a long run, but he got walked down. So that's my only knock on him. But outside of that, he's everything that you want in a running back as well, as far as a physicality standpoint goes. So I would take either one of them. I'm good with either one for the running backs from
By the way,
State.
before you go, Mike, did you guys see
Go Bucks.
that reminded me of at the combine, that offensive lineman that broke the record for bench press reps?
I
No.
didn't see it, no.
How many did he do? 50?
I think he did 49.
Sheesh.
Unless that video wasn't new. Maybe.
Well, there was a guy from Arkansas who set the record. The Giants drafted him in like the 6th round. Never panned out. But I
Oh.
think he put up 49-2. So
Oh,
maybe it was an
boy.
old
I
video.
wonder if it's an old video.
We'll
All
look
right,
it up in a second.
disregard. Go ahead.
I think you got the right conference for running backs in terms of who the Browns should draft, but I think you got the wrong school. Both the Ohio State guys are good, but Caleb Johnson out of Iowa,
Cincinnati
I think
guy.
would be a really, really good fit here for the Browns for a couple of reasons. One, 2 of the draft guys I like, have him rated as one of their top 3 running backs in the draft. And when you click on the scouting report for them, because I'd be lying to say I watch a ton of Iowa football, they say he runs a wide zone system. Ran a wide zone system at Iowa. What does Kevin Stefanski like to run? A wide zone offense. Steve, go back to the stats real quick. If you look at his stats this season, he had the 2nd most rushing yards in college football behind Ashton Genty with 1,500 rushing yards. Playing at Iowa. Do you know what Iowa can't do, Bull?
Throw the ball.
They can't throw the ball. So you know they're going to run the ball time after time after time.
Yeah.
He still put up incredible numbers, was an All-American this year at Iowa, despite the fact they had no passing game. And he ran a 4.5 at the combine. And you may say, 4.5. Well, Nick Chubb just ran a 4.5. And if he's going to be the guy to replace Nick Chubb, I'm not too worried about it. When you watch him in the games, he's not a blazer, but he always finds ways to get positive yardage, keep the chains moving. He averaged 6.4 yards a carry in college with 21 touchdowns. He had 30 for his career. And unlike Judkins and Henderson, who played a ton of games in college, he was a productive back, but only really played the last 2 years. Has way less carries coming into the pros than the 2 Buckeyes. So I like Caleb Johnson at Iowa.
Yeah, I have no interest in Travion Henderson. There's too many injuries, too many carries.
He's going to probably be the 2nd running back off the board.
Yeah,
or
no
the 3rd,
thanks.
I should say.
I'm not taking him in the 2nd round. There's too many red flags with him. He's a good player, and you're probably right. When he's healthy, he'll probably be good in the NFL. But he'll be a guy who you'll have him for 8 games. He'll be great, and then he's going to get hurt.
That's fair.
And
Now,
so I like a durable back. I don't need the back to be the fastest guy in the world. This is not corner or wide receiver.
Yeah, you do want him to. You don't want him to get walked. You want him to hit
I
that
hear
crease
you,
and
but
go.
like, it's not like wide receiver or corner. It's not the same level of importance. The speed. You think it's just as important at running back?
Name me a slow running back that's successful.
I'm not saying I want him to be slow. I'm just saying he doesn't need to be
because Derrick
the
Henry.
fastest
Derrick
guy.
Henry ran a 4.4.
Is 4.5 slow?
I mean, it's average.
Oh, that's what Nick
I'm
Chubb,
saying
Nick
that's
Chubb ran
fine.
in college.
It's average.
I'm saying that's what
but
Nick
you
Chubb
could-
ran. You could be effective with
Listen,
4.5.
I'm not saying the guy's at 4'9".
I like Caleb Johnson. My only issue with Caleb Johnson, it's only one thing that I don't like about him, is the simple fact that when he played Ohio State and he played a really good defense, he did nothing. And you go in the NFL, guess what you're going to play? A bunch of great defenses. So
Well,
are
but
you
you're also
going
going
to
to have
produce?
great players around you. He doesn't there, does he?
They had no.
They got a great offensive line.
They do?
Yeah.
But they had no semblance of a passing game, and teams were putting 8-9 guys. In the
That
box.
ain't stop him on any other game.
Ohio State has a really good roster.
You can't judge a guy based on one game.
That's
not
how
fair.
I do. Melvin Gordon, he was that deal in college. He went up against the Buckeyes. He couldn't even crack 100 yards.
He was a good NFL running back.
Was he?
Yeah,
Yes, he was.
It wasn't great, but it was good. Yeah.
He was good.
Yeah. He had a fumbling issue.
Earl, who do you like out of these guys?
I like the 2 Ohio State guys. Real quick, I'm searching for something. Go ahead.
Go Bucks.
Somebody mentioned to me a guy with a weird last name today.
Amari Hampton.
Why
Amari
would that be a
Ham-
weird last name?
I don't know.
Hampton?
Dylan Sampson?
Damn, I gotta
Ashton
look at
Genty.
No. It's first I got to look up Melvin Gordon because I want to see kind of
Well, I heard
propaganda.
You want to see a stat?
I heard some draft guys saying Amari Hampton is right up there with Genty for
That's
RB1
what they
in this
say.
class.
That's what
Yeah.
they saying.
I didn't watch.
I
any
didn't watch
UNC,
North
so
Carolina. Yeah, I didn't
have
watch
no
North
real
Carolina, so I
opinion on
couldn't
that,
tell
but-
you. But that's what they saying. Well, did he run at the combine?
Fair
He
to
did.
Davis, Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? He had a lot of receiving. He had a lot of receiving yards from scrimmage. He had 3 years in a row where he was he was 1375 or higher. Mm-hmm. He had a 3-year stretch where he was excellent, and then he was kind of okay. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a nothing. I got to find this running back. Somebody mentioned him to me today, and I stupidly didn't write the name down.
He's in the draft.
Yep. Go ahead, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Anyways, but I at any rate, they still got to sign some type of veteran running back. That's the thing that I'm more curious in. Because they had
What about this Cam Scatabo? That's not who I was
Oh,
thinking
That's
of.
what Dustin loves.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
loves
yeah.
him.
He ran what did he run? 4.62. That's not great.
He ran 4.62.
Yeah.
Wow.
Quinshawn ran a 4.48.
I know.
Travion a 4.43. That's not crazy.
For a
Is
running back? Saquon ran a 4.4
Ashton
flat.
Jenny ran a 4.42. That's Brashard Smith from Boise State ran a 4.39.
The backup to
I
Genty.
want to say Genty's back.
Yeah. 4.39.
I thought that was the guy.
I got to try to find this guy.
I'm trying to think of the other top backs in this class.
Oh, here it is. This guy from Virginia Tech, he ran a 4.32.
Oh, Tuttle.
Brayshaw Tootin.
Tutton.
Listen.
Ran a 4.32. Somebody's a guy who produces my podcast who was at the combine thought he really stood out. This guy.
So this is the thing. All that is great. Press play and tell me what you see, because it's a reason that he hasn't been brought up until the combine happened.
Yeah.
Like, so don't fall for just the combine.
Well, I'm not falling for just.
I'm not saying you. I'm just
You're
saying
right.
in general.
The tape is one thing.
Press
but
play.
There are running backs that get drafted later that become great players, a lot more than other positions.
That's true, because they get in the right system and people
Yeah.
know how to utilize them and all those things. I
mean,
agree with you, but
I never heard.
I'm just telling you, press play.
I never heard of Chase Brown coming out of college. I mean, maybe.
I did. He was at Illinois.
Well, he got drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah, that was dumb. You know what? He was literally like the college version of Derrick Henry. They gave that dude the ball 40 times a game,
and he was great.
and
last
he
year.
was trucking
So how did he
along.
last to the 5th round?
Because they probably said he got 40. He got 40 carries a game, and his body's probably beat up. So that's probably what happened. But they was giving it to him. I was like,
Yeah.
"Who they think he is, Derrick Henry?"
Yeah.
Oh, he played awesome.
All right, Earl, what do you got for us now? What's going on?
All right, let's get back to some